Hello and welcome to another edition of the Fatu Network News Review. Today, 9th August 2018. I am Omar Wali. I'm in the studios here with Almame Fandintal, a lawyer and the spokesperson for the United Democratic Party, and Abdul Karim Jame, a survivor of April 10 and 11 student demonstration. And I also have Sidin Jai here. We'll be discussing the UDP last week, a few weeks ago said they want April 14 and 16 to be declared a Martyrs' Day, but April 10 and 11 victims also saying similar thing. And I'll be discussing President Barrow's popularity and so on with Sidin Jai. But to start with, I will start with the Standard newspaper. Barrow will not form a political party. That is the spokesperson of the Coalition 2016 campaign in the West Coast region. Esa Damfa rebukes any suggestion that President Barrow is planning to form his own political party to contest in the next presidential election. There has been rumors that President Barrow wants to detach from the United Democratic Party and form his own political party. But the Brikama-based politician said people should stop confusing Barrow Youth Movement for National Development with a political party and using it as a campaign against Barrow because the movement is only focusing on development. He made this during an exclusive interview with the Standard newspaper. And he said it is equally not true that Barrow has had a discussion or whatsoever with APRC in his plan to form a political party, because it is not even remotely conceivable that Barrow will work with the APRC to form a party. The former National Assembly members of the APRC party and governors met Barrow at State House, and it was rumored that Barrow want to form coalition or close ranks with them and form a political party ahead of the next presidential election. Film on how Gambian activist ousted Jammeh shows in London. The former Gambian President Jammeh may have left the office over a year now, but the news around him continues to develop every now and then. And the Standard is reporting that as part of the most recent offshoots of the ousted Jammeh, in a leaked tape, is talking to his party members in the country. He ruled for over 22 decades till January 2017, and his mother's death in exile and her subsequent repatriation to the Gambia for burial has also dominated local media in the past week. And it has been a lot of news articles featuring the analysis surrounding the former president and even his life in exile. According to the Standard, the film will feature President Jammeh's life in exile, among other things. And right groups want April 10 and 11 as National Martyrs' Day. UDP also wants similar thing for their members who were arrested on the 14th and 16th of April 2016. But I have Mr. Tal here, and I have Abdul Karim Jame, who was survived the April 10 and 11 in the year 2000. The point is reporting that Minister urges GFF National Sport Council to end grievances. The National Sport Council issued a statement suspending the president and two other people, but immediately after that press release was issued, the Minister of Youth and Sport revoked that decision. And now he called them for a meeting to end the grievances. The Chief Inspector, I was the last officer to arrive at Faraba Banta incident. You may remember there was an incident in Faraba between miners, Julake Company and the villagers. Few people were killed, and a commission has been set up to look into the case. And people are testifying at the commission there. And they're also reporting that Sports Minister rescinded suspension of GFF top officials. And the First Lady making progress against breast cancer. We reported that one yesterday. Barrow gets 72% leadership approval. That was also here. I will discuss that one with Sidin Jai. And the Voice also is reporting that April 10 and 11 victims demand recognition. Jammeh film also to be premiered in London, and similar stories in Point, the Standard and the Voice newspaper. Foroya is reporting that college students complain of unpaid staff salaries, and that the students of the Gambia College have blamed government, particularly the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, for non-payment of their lecturers for months. The ongoing exam for students pursuing PTC, that is the primary teacher certificate PTC have been halted because the staff of the college have embarked on a sit-down strike since Tuesday, the 7th of August 2018. Banjul North National Assembly member launches scholarship fund. That is Osman Silla, the National Assembly member for Banjul North, has established a scholarship fund to support the education of an outstanding and needy students in senior secondary schools who are residents in Banjul North. The Gambia Daily also is reporting that the Chinese embassy plants over 500 coconut trees in Banjul, and VP Davo received the executive secretary for the SEC. They're also reporting that First Lady Ba making progress against breast cancer, and VP Davo discussed with the officials of the proposed Social Protection Secretariat. That's all we have for you on the papers today. And let me turn to my guest, Mr. Tal. Welcome, Mr. Jame.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Few weeks, I will start with Mr. Tal. You had a press conference last week, and during the press conference, you said you want April 14 and 16 to be declared a Martyrs' Day. And today, or 2 days ago, the April 10 and 11 survivors also said similar thing. They want April 10 and 11 to be declared not only a survivor, a Martyrs' Day, but either a school public holiday or whatever they wanted. And they also said they want recognition. Can you enlighten us? Because when that statement was made, they said they were victims before before April 14 and 16, 2017. That was November 11, that was April 10 and 11, that was December 30th, and so on. Can you enlighten us about that claim or that statement you made?
Well, again, thank you very much for inviting me. I always consider it a great honor to talk about national issues on any platform. And I was very pleased that Fatu Network was able to cover our press conference. But this issue about the National Martyrs' Day was first spoken about at the anniversaries of the April 14 victims. I remember saying it at the around the NAWEC office in Kanifing. What we are calling for as a party is acknowledgement and recognition of all the martyrs of the Gambia, starting with people like Koro Sise, people like Deda Haidara, the students who were killed and shot on the April 10 and 11. I would tell you, I was a young counsel in that commission, and our findings, thank God, that they have not been disappeared, are very clear. Government was held culpable for the violence that was visited on the young students protesting about their basic rights. Just to be clear, we are not going to engage in a competition.
Okay.
The martyrs of this country deserve recognition. They deserve to be honored. They deserve to be remembered because they were unarmed. And Yahya Jammeh, with his rogues, visited unspeakable violence on the population of this country. Shooting students, assassinating journalists. That has never happened in this country. As a party, we can only make these demands in the name of our own heroes.
Okay.
The truth is of the matter is very simple. Solo Sandeng, Falong Sonko, Nogo Njai, Fatoumata Jawara, Honorable Fal. These people were victims of Yahya Jammeh in April, fateful days in April. Our party leader was arrested. So if I am standing on a platform in honor of Solo Sandeng and his memory, in addition to that program, we have also established as a party the Solo Sandeng Memorial Lecture. And we had a very successful starting of that lecture series. Our first lecturer is the lawyer Emmanuel Diouf, who is now the chairman of this Faraba Commission. So my point is very simple. This is not a competition. It's an acknowledgement that we should give to all Gambian matters. This is what I have been trying to say since last year. So when the April events happened this year, we went and we explained this message. So it is a very comforting thing for me to hear that others are proposing dates. Quite frankly, we are not hung up on any dates. All we want to see in this country is to recognize the matters of this country. And we celebrate their legacy because it is about that. But oftentimes when you make these statements, follow-up questions could be asked to clarify matters. Because we are not interested in competing for any glory or any spotlight. What we are saying is that this country, people died so that this country can be free. Including the students, including Deda Hydra, including Koro Sise, Chief Mane Yul, the list is very long. Usman Silla, a private lawyer, was nearly assassinated because he was defending some people who were accused of violations of the Constitution. But sometimes I want to ask the journalists, and Omar, you know my position about this.
I know.
Who were the first victims of Jammeh and his gangs? Do you know that Ibrahim Chongan,
yes,
Sirif Gomez, these people were put in prison for 27 months without any due process? In fact, people don't even know that these things have happened. Are those people not entitled to some compensation from the state?
Yes, including.
So for me, my argument is that let us look at our history squarely in the face. Let us not try to create narratives that divide this country. This is not a competition between what happened to the students in April, but sometimes when you have these headlines, it tries to minimize the sacrifice of all these people. That's my initial reaction to this. Let us build a united country based on values that are universal.
You always question journalists. I read Journey for Justice in Hassan Jallo's book, and he was detained with Alkal James J. Abdul Karim Jammeh, you were shot on the 10th of April while going to Sheikh Maska on your left knee. What can you remember about this day? Just few lines, few sentences.
Yeah, once again, thank you very much for inviting me to this very important program. I thank you, and I thank Fatu also as well. On that fateful day, I was going to school, and if I could remember fully, it was during the exam time. I normally catch a bus at Churchillstown. I was there standing for a while, and there was no bus coming. So I decided to walk, because it's from Churchillstown to behind GTTI, that's where my school is. So I was there for a while, so I decided to walk. I went up to Westfield. I found a crowd of students there, shouting, running. I said, hey, what's going on there? They said, there's a demonstration going on. So, oh, but before then, my head boy in the school told me on Friday that on Monday there's going to be a demonstration. I said, me, I don't have time for demonstration. I'm on my exams. So since they told me that there is a demonstration going on, I told them, oh. Then I decided to turn back and go home. All of a sudden, I saw a group of soldiers in front of us, running after our colleagues, other students, shooting at them. So we turned, we ran. They were following us. We went up to around Iceman. Anyway, to cut the story short, this is what we were doing, running for our life on that very day until they shot us. Because we went back to Westfield again. We gathered there, and another group came there. They found us there and they shot us. So that was when I was shot, and I was taken to hospital for 4 months, then discharged.
Now, okay. To continue with UDP, like Mr. Tal said, they want April 14 and 16, and so you people also want. But what do you need more than declaring April 10 and 11?
Thank you very much. Recognizing the day, how to call it, the day to be to commemorate or to set the day as a Martyrs' Day is important. No one can deny it, because I can say they were heroes of this nation. They were freedom fighters. They sacrificed their life for the nation. But as victims at this moment in time, I think all what we need from the government is recognition, medical support, justice, and lifting the impunity against the perpetrators who did this criminal act on all the victims of these 22 years. Because, number one, this government, they should recognize us as victims. Number two, there are still people who are still suffering from this gunshot, tortured, you name it. Starting from it's a long list.
Yes, yeah.
April 10th, April 14th, April 16th, December 10th. So you name it, the list go on and on and on. So it's uncountable. So these are the 2 key or 3 key priorities which we need at this moment in time. Medical support, recognition, and TRRC is coming, it's on the way. That is justice. Maybe reparation, justice, truth, reconciliation, and reparation. That one is on the way coming. But at this moment in time, what we need is medical support and recognition. Because we've been suffering for a while. Take an example of Yusuf Mbai. He's still in a wheelchair. He can't walk. Omijan, Yusuf Seni Senghor, Nogoinjai, Fatoumata Kamara. So you name the list, it goes on and on and on. So what, at this moment in time, what we need is medical support first, recognition, then TRRC is on the way coming. These are the 3 key issues we need at the moment.
Mr. Tall, you heard their story, and like you said, you were privy to those things as a young lawyer. Your party is in the government, so what will they do for victims like this, April 10 and 11, and many other victims?
No, what we've been asking for, beyond the recognition, is to institutionalize their suffering. Because I don't think they are victims. They suffered, but they suffered for a cause, for a purpose. Now, all Gambians have agreed that their cause was justified, that we must live in a free country. Now, my friend, I can only say how sorry as a nation we are. But we should go beyond that. We should be able to care for those who are no longer with us, their families, their relatives. All those who have suffered should now be able to get something, not in compensation for their suffering, but as an acknowledgement and as a mark of respect for the suffering that has happened. So the government itself needs to come out and recognize this as a fact. He talked about TRRC. The truth about his case is known. That is the first letter of this TRRC. He has suffered over the years. There are some who are sitting in the chair. Why can those people be compensated? Why can they be given reparation now? Why should we go through other processes? Why should people wait for justice after so many years of suffering? I think these processes need to be rationalized, and they must be sequenced in a way that goes towards justice, because the justice of this case has been delayed inordinately for a very long time. So before government sets up a TRRC, it should have identified all these victims and see what it can do for them. I don't know exactly what is it that they need, but that is something that was doable without even, you know, going to a legislature to pass these things into law. I mean, the cost of trying to set up all these processes to establish a truth that is already known, in my humble opinion, far outweighs the suffering that these people have been living with all these years.
Since the new government took over, did you receive any kind of support in terms of medical support or any other?
No, no, not yet. And as well as my colleagues, because we are in touch every day and night. We last met with the vice president, the then vice president, and we have lots of discussions, but in the end, we did not see her anymore. But as at now, we the victims, because it was the reason why we formed a victim center for human rights violation. So that is why we make it as global, not only April 10th. So we are still appealing to the government to come to our aid, especially my colleague. When I look at him, I nearly cry. Yusufa, yeah. He's still in a wheelchair because it was like we could not even finish our educational career, no job. So it was a turning point of our life. And when this new government came to power, we were expecting that, things are going to be fine for us. Even some of the parliamentarians, there was a point at time used to tell us, don't you worry, things are going to be better. But we are still yet to see the progress. And we are still calling on the Borough administration to look into our case. We need medical support. We need it. April 10, April 14, and all other victims, we need medical support right now. And the perpetrators of the April 10th and 11 victims also, as Mr. Tal rightly said, our case is clear, it's well known. It's before everybody's face. So I think to deal with it is so easier. So if anybody want to know more about it, you can go to April 10th and April 10th Memorial Foundation website. The commission, the Commission of Inquiry, the report of the Commission of Inquiry is there. So if anybody go there, you're going to see it. Everything is clear. It's www.april10and11.org. So it's very clear. So as he rightly said, our case is easy to settle or to handle, definitely.
Mr. Fatal, if this thing's going to be first come, first serve basis, or the most serious one, because they are all serious, which one do you think will come first?
No, this is not, this again, Omar, I'm urging you, let us not look at this as if it is a first come, first serve. It is not an issue like that. Okay. There are things that the government can do now, immediately, for these victims and all the victims that are alive. Yeah. So really, what we need to focus on is how is government paying attention to their plight, their suffering. And he said that they had the opportunity to meet the former vice president. They met some parliamentarians. These are all people who should be accountable to the Gambian people about the plight of these people. I mean, the first thing that we are talking about as a party is that let us recognize these people. What we can do, for example, our party, is to establish a lecture series in honor of Solo Sunday. Yeah. But what the government can do, the government has gone to the National Assembly and passed a legislation. Everybody is very impressed and very proud of that. But up to now, there has not been any serious activity to address the victims' problem. Because we must understand that the rule of law is not existing for its own sake. It is existing so that we can reach justice that is in substance meaningful and useful for the people.
Do you think you will get justice?
That's a very good question. We hope we're going to get justice. Because anyway, but we are yet to see it. We hope that we're going to get justice, but we are yet to see it.
And to add to my brother's situation, he mentioned this Indemnity Act. All it would take of the National Assembly is to repeal it in total, so that the processes and the wheels of justice can start moving. Because if these soldiers or the people who fired on them were giving indemnity by a law that the National Assembly make, God knows this National Assembly can undo that law. And this is not going to cost them anything more than what they have already, in court in terms of costs.
And, excuse me, and as well as Indemnity Act is very important to repeal it. And plus, the perpetrators are still in the street there, walking freely, and we are seeing them every day and night.
So you know who shot
them? No, I don't know, because it was like I was running.
Okay.
The shot came from my back. But it is stated clearly in the Commission of Inquiry, those who were responsible on that very day. So those people should face justice. Perpetrators, they must face justice. Definitely.
Thank you so much, Abdul Karim. Abdul Karim Jami, he was shot on the 10th of April 2000 during the student demonstration. And I also have Almame Fandintal here. We will have a short break. When we come, we continue with the show. I also have Sidin Jai here, the former information minister. We'll be discussing the research conducted by an American-based firm that President Barrow has over 70% approval. So let's have a break. When we come back, we continue with the show.
Great things comes on your way at the right time. As Tobaski signals, APS International introduces APS Tobaski Bonanza. APS Tobaski Bonanza from the 1st to the 17th of August 2018. 5 big rounds to be won by 5 lucky winners. Or cash power to be won, mobile credits as well to be won. All you need to do is send money, mobile credits, cash power, or use our famous Nuga service so that your beneficiaries could be part of the lucky winners of the Tobaski Rams. I said Tobaski Ram. Yes, we mean Tobaski Ram. It's so simple and great from APS International. You can follow APS Facebook page or call 012-164-33003. Damane, li dafa neex de Hari Tobaski kenn duma ko netali maa ngi ni di jëfoo APS International, because who does it better? You can judge now. APS International, simply the best.
This Tobaski MoneyGram is giving back to your community. MoneyGram Money Transfer is giving out 10 rams in 10 days to those who really need it. Who do you think should get a free MoneyGram ram? Is it a family? An orphanage? A community center? Hospital? Just send us a short 10-second video with the hashtag MoneyGramRam by posting it on the comment section below or sending it to GETV, BNL, or the Fatu Network. But don't forget the hashtag MoneyGramRam. 10 rams, 10 days. Send in your videos now so you can help others through MoneyGram. Happy Tobaski from MoneyGram. MoneyGram, bringing you closer.
This is powered
Welcome
by
back after that short commercial break. I am Omar Wali. I'm in the studios here with Almame Fandintal, UDP spokesperson, and Sidin Jai, who served as information minister for 11 days during the political impasse, and he's now told us not long ago he's 100% a Barrow. We'll be discussing Barrow's rating. Honorable, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Omar. Thank you very much, our viewers and listeners.
American-based research company has found that 72% of Gambians, nearly 3 in 4 residents, approve President Barrow's leadership. So what is the secret behind this?
Yes, you know, it might be attributed to a lot of factors, ranging from good governance, democracy, you know, rule of law, freedom of the press, observance of fundamental human rights of the citizenry, and also freedom of expressions, among a host of other issues. So when you look at it also, when you look at the report, they indicated the confidence that Gambian have in the leadership of President Barrow. It also talks about the newfound democracy. So primarily, one could attribute it to President Barrow's desire in building a vibrant democratic dispensation and institutions.
Let me ask you, if I may, how democratic is President Barrow?
You know, sometimes it could be subjective, or, you know, depending on to which angle one is coming from and which angle the other one is coming from. You know, when you looked at the way President Barrow operates, he allows institutions in the country to operate independently, and also he rule by rule of law. For instance, people tend to believe that there is surge in media practitioners or members of the Penn fraternity. People will also tell you that at the judiciary there are freedom, and people are not probably subjected to certain issues. And also when you looked at the area of security, especially with the Gambia police force, one would tend to say that mostly or largely they observe the requirement or the principle of rule of law and also constitutional provisions. And to other pundits also will tell you that the majority of the Gambian people to a large extent feel that they could say whatever they want in the interest of democracy, in the interest of justice, in expressing their own opinion without any fear or without any intimidations. And also when you go to civil service, to members of the civil service and also members of the discipline force, that's the security and the civil servants, they also tell you that to a certain degree they operate within their mandate, institutional mandate, and also within the framework of accountability, framework of operating within the aligned ministries and department, and exerting some semi-autonomy as given to them by law.
Mr. Tal, I'm sure you saw what was published yesterday, that almost 70% of approval rating for Barrow. What is your take on this?
Well, my take on this kind of information is that to be completely nonchalant about it, because, you know, I mean, what is the sample size? Who was spoken to? I mean, these kind of organizations, nobody knows what their, I mean, at least I don't know what their measures are. What are they measuring to come up with these things? But, you know, in the Gambia here, whenever something good is said, you know, whether it's useful or not, we all jump and jubilate about it. What I would like to say is that a country like Ghana, for example, who also had a transition or change of president around the same time like us, are now talking about 8.9% growth of their economy, and, you know, they are doing extremely well. They are projecting that Ghana will do very well. So for me, what measure I would use to judge any political leader is how much the people themselves feel like you are making their lives better. But to listen to Gallup or to listen to CNN or BBC say that, you know, this is what is, you know, sometimes it's just, it's in my humble opinion, it's not something that I should spend any time on.
Yes, you want to add something?
Yeah. When you looked at the report, and also you also listened to my lecturer, you know, Ghana, they are ahead of us in terms of what probably others will say democracy. There have been a lot of transitions. For us, for the first time, we witnessed a peaceful transfer of power, and, you know, so but when you look at the report and you look at the issues they raise and also the yardstick they use and the number of people they interviews, and when you want to also downsize it to, or contextualize it into this country, one could really agree that, of course, there are room for improvement. but Gambians have trust and confidence in the government, and also Gambians have seen improvement, however percentage it is, in many folds. Especially the issues they raise, and also the issues are highlighted earlier on, and also the commitment of government. Of course, we agree more often than not, there are always challenges, and people are always impatient with government because we want to look at issues. But to be honest, largely there have been some tremendous improvement.
Like what, for example? What has improved in the Gambia? The price of rice? No, I mean, presidencies are not popularity contests.
Exactly.
So if you are having an organization coming from America measuring popularity of the president.
That's what I wanted to
what seriously.
The research company said, and what is actually happening on the ground.
Yeah, on the ground,
yes.
We are on the ground, Omar. You are on the ground. For instance, let's just talk about the freedom of the media. Let's talk about democracy. People believe there is some improvement. Of course, I am not in any way saying that there is no room for improvement. In fact, in my earlier submissions, I indicated that there is room for improvement on most of the areas. But when you look at it some years back and now, one could agree that, and in fact, when you go on the ground, and we are Gambians, we all know what is happening in this country. You talk to Gambians, they will tell you, yes, to be honest, we've appreciated there are some improvement. And even though they might have some reservations, or they might want probably space in which they would want things to move, to move, and the way it is, it might be different. But then every sector that you talk, especially, the issue of people are able to send in or share their opinions, and their views as to how they see the government's operations. They can differ with government, differ with people, differ with institutions.
Let me interrupt you there. People will tell you that it's not from Barrow, that is from Gambian people. They voted, and that's why.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see, when you talk about, when you talk about a president of a country, you talked about either surge in popularity or declining. It has to trickle down to every citizens of the country. You don't just go and, because of certain issues, you gather people. For instance, I think you gather 1,000 people, and you sample, you ask them every 5 or every 10 people, what's the questionnaire, and the responses. They will tell you how they feel, how they think that government is shaping up, on what directions, what the government is able to achieve, or what are the retardation of that government.
Now, but like I said, the research was conducted last year.
Yes, in December 2017.
Now,
that's about some 6 months ago,
now,
7 months ago.
Almost also answered. Some said they will take it seriously, or they will take this research as more credible when it was published in the first, like January, February.
2018 or
2018. But now it's almost, we are in August.
Yeah, some also will tell you from January to now, there are a lot of improvement. Others also will tell you in this area they were better in 2017. But more or less, what is certain is that during that period, the people, those who conducted the research, and the people they interviewed, and then there were generally about 75% accepted and rated the President Barrow and his government on all the questionnaires, the areas that they were asked and responded to. But you are a member of the media, Omar. Most of you here and there, I do hear blame most of the things to former government, and that you tend to celebrate the fact that there is reasonable freedom of the members of the press. Is that not an achievement?
Well,
I'm certain, even though you want to move further, but you have recognized some achievement, and you will recognize some challenges. You see, life in itself is all about improvement every day, in daily basis. And in the government, in Africa, in the West, everywhere, Every day there will be room for improvement until that particular person ceases to be in power. Someone also comes and continue with the good things and abandon the
You know, Omar, we must try as Gambians to be honest with each other this way, that the success of this new government is not dependent on the deprivations of the past government. To say that there is more press freedom in the Gambia now, and you want to attribute that or use that as a measure of improvements, I think is being not entirely honest with Gambians. In the sense that all that Yaya Jammeh was doing here over the last 22 years was to violate the basic rights of people. So now that that violation has stopped, how can that be a measure of whether this government is successful or not? Really, we have to be, we have to
Omar,
be very clear.
Omar, I have not in any way indicated that that's the yardstick one could use to measure whether it's success. You know, what I said, there are a lot of issues that they raise. They talk about that. One he's highlighting now, and they said there's improvement.
No, but
they talked about the media.
We want an
but what I'm saying
example
also, what I am not here on debate.
Yeah.
What I am saying is what is in the record. You know, the beauty of democracy is people to define opinions.
Democracy exists,
And
everybody agree on the same thing at the same time.
Exactly, and we all respect each other. We respect each other's opinion.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Now, when you go to the farmer in Bolibana, you ask him, what's improvement, or what is your priority, or what do you need? They tell you that because government provided fertilizer at a cheaper cost, or because government provided milling machines or irrigations, that's an improvement. You go to my lecturer. You go to my lecturer.
Clearly, that is an improvement. But is that what has happened? For me, that's what I want to disclose.
You go to my lecturer. You ask him something, he will tell you that increment in wages or salaries is an improvement. No, I am not.
For me, these are the
No,
just look at it.
No. So Omar, when you look at the report, you look at the issues, and when you look at President Barrow's government to now, all these areas, they are improvement.
Yeah.
We have seen reports even from the central bank, you know, to talk about the stability in, you know, and also the economy is catching up. Is that not an improvement? That's what we are told by the central bank and other people. Is that not an improvement? Yeah. They told us that 16 months ago or 18 months ago, the import copper was very low, and they said now there is still room for improvement, but they are steadily growing. Is that not an improvement?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about, you know, a skyrocket improvement or development in all spheres. And also, you go to the Upper River region, they'll tell you that we work have started, or you know, the construction from Basse to Fato to Koina, and also Basse to Woolly Bridge, and also Fato to Pasamas, and they'll tell you if that is completed, is like their hopes
now
and trust and confidence in the government have increased.
Okay, moving on. Now, we might come back to this subject again. Okay, but okay. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay said Barrow lacked the intellectual pedigree to run the Gambia.
Yes, you see, I respect everyone's opinions, but that doesn't in any way means it's a fair statement. My opinion, that one is not a fair statement, it's fallacy. And when you look at it, when you read his argument, is fallacious. And in the basis that you don't have to be an intellectual to be a good leader. You don't also have to be with a minimum qualification also to be a bad leader. We have seen people who hold degrees, order 7 academic degrees, but they are the worst leaders in Africa.
Yeah, talking about Mugabe.
And we have seen also
let's put this
some intellectuals who are very dishonest, and that's responsible for African retardation in terms of development, because they deceiving the people what they tell people, and the realities on the ground is a completely different things. Now, you look at the persons of President Barrow, you are attacking his persons directly, as if you have some scores to settle with. And also, he talks about the military. He said if President Barrow is re-elected, there is going to be a military takeover. It's dangerous and it's scary. Is he telling us that there are questions that he needs to answer? Is he telling us that he is in contact with some element of the Gambia Armed Forces? Or is he telling us what? Is there clairvoyance or what? So for me, I think that is not a fair statement to President Barrow.
You are scared that Dr. Cisse said this.
Yeah, because if Dr. Cisse is alleging that, in fact, you can conclude by saying that he is alleging that he is in contact with some members of the Gambia Armed Forces, and then that anything can happen.
Were you scared when ECOWAS said they were going to flush out Jammeh during the impasse?
These are completely different things. Please, I don't want to be drawn to anywhere. This is the reason why I'm here. Let's talk about let's talk about the percentage and these things, please.
Mr. Tal, what do you make of that statement that pedigree, Barrow does not have or lacks the intellectual pedigree?
Well, I really don't want to be drawn into this discussion.
Yeah.
I just want to say that President Barrow is president of the Gambia because he is elected according to the laws of the Gambia. That's the most important thing about these issues. To engage in any exchange on the basis of things that are the opinions of individuals, who are not political operators, who are not belonging to any political process, I think really is not the best use of our time.
Yeah, and he also talks about qualification for office of the president.
Yes.
Elective offices, either president, parliament, or councils, these, you may not use certain requirement or qualifications to bar the citizenry. You need minimal qualifications, and then to allow the citizenry to take part, either to be voted or to vote in. And also, it is not in any way a yardstick to gauge someone's efficiency or someone's capabilities to run an office. It's not the number of degrees that you hold will determine how efficient somebody could be, and also your managerial skills.
What do you make of that?
No, I mean, really, I think this conversation, somehow inadvertently, I have been involved in starting it. When I was appointed as the UDP spokesperson, I was being interviewed the reasons why I joined the UDP. I said that I find it to be the home of professionals, because the leader of the party and the then finance minister and several of the party leaders were professionals, whether teachers or accountants, or in the case of the vice president, he was a lawyer. I said, in addition to this qualification, the people of PDOIS also have had very outstanding leaders. But for me, leadership goes really beyond basic qualifications that are identified in the 1997 Constitution. In fact, my point was to that there is no constitution that I have seen in the world that calls for basic secondary school qualification. They just have an age qualification and probably your ability to follow the processes that are politically charged. That is whether, if at all, the programs are in English.
That is telling you that in other jurisdictions, in other countries.
So really, if I may just conclude what I want to finish.
Okay, see, let him finish.
So now to take the discussion based on academic qualifications is really to misconceive this whole idea. What do we expect of our leaders? You know, now there is a narrative taking hold in this country that the more you can talk about anything, the more important you should be. And, you know, rising from all political parties. Just a few days ago, we saw some people, they have split up from the GDC. They say they are going to form their own parties. What this country requires now is to start assessing people who are doing things. And based on that, based on their experience, based on their contribution and their impact, then they entrust them with leadership. I mean, it's good that you prepare yourself for leadership. All professionals have to go through preparation.
Yeah. You see, when you listen to Mr. Tal's argument, still in other countries in the world, in fact, there are no basic qualification. It's just your ability to be able to listen or to hear and to, because these things, and to be honest, Omar, you know, to be able to be a good leader, that is not determined by your degrees. That one, let's have to be clear. And then I agree that some people in a political party also, sometimes the best leaders among a political party, when you look at them, might not necessarily be those who hold degrees.
Okay. This has been a debate in Africa. You go to East Africa, you go to Southern Africa, like since independence, Tanzania has a very steady.
Sometimes intellectuals will use certain things to deceive people and to distract people and politicians from the realities on the ground by bringing those things. Sometimes also some people will use certain point to justify their argument, only to put themselves at the limelight and also at the advantageous to put others on a disadvantage. For instance, if I want to contest, and I think me and you, I can read Quran better than you, and I know, but then you, in terms of quality, or in terms of popularity, or in terms of respect and honor from the people, you are more respected than I do, then I might want to say, okay, let's look at that. Why not you include those who can recite Quran better than the others? You know, all those things, maybe you have an agenda or you have an intention in the future. So, but then as Mr. Tal indicated, to be honest, when you go to other countries, that is not subject of determining who.
It was an issue in Zambia when Michael Sata was running for office. Rupiah Banda laid down conditions that if you are 71, you can be president, and if you are above 70, you can be president. And if you don't have a degree, you cannot be president. You mentioned this in Mr. Tal, that at least a minimum requirement should be a university degree.
No, but I didn't say that. I said that you cannot put in your constitution that high school education is what you require to be president.
Okay.
I am saying that we need to prepare our leaders to assume their responsibilities of leadership based on what they can do for the people. If you look at, for example, the U.S. Constitution, all it requires that you should be at least 40 years old and you should be naturally born American citizen. Of course, since the beginning of that republic, all their leaders have been either philosopher kings until, of course, our time. Someone like Lincoln did not go to university, did not go to a basic education, but he prepared and he became a lawyer. So my argument is that if you look at the Pan-African struggle for independence, almost all our leaders were very high-level intellectuals. Because in those days, the white man used to beat down the black man because they said that we are like animals, we are stupid, we don't know anything. So almost everybody was a doctor or that. But the point I am talking about now, we need a new kind of politics. This politics of talking about non-issues the whole day and people just talking, things that are completely meaningless, useless for the country. You know, they find their way on the front page of newspapers, and people have to do news reviews and talk about that. This country is not moving anywhere, and every day you are hearing people saying that, oh, I was doing this, I was doing that, you know.
Oh, this is not what we voted for, you mean?
This kind of thing, we really need to change it.
Yeah.
Let us look at the needs of this country. We are going through a rainy season, and people are talking about climate change. Things are happening. Just yesterday, you said you reported it, and today also.
Yeah.
The Chinese has given us 500 coconut trees. We cannot plant 500 coconut trees for ourselves.
Of course we can.
Yeah, but you know, we are not pursuing those kind of agendas.
Yeah.
It takes the Chinese who can give us maybe 5 million coconut trees.
Yeah.
Instead of that, they give us something very small,
and
then we are satisfied with it. Gallup is telling us that, oh, you know, you have a very popular president in 2007, and people are coming to the studios and explaining that, oh, this is a very good thing. You know, Gambia is doing very well. Where is the evidence?
Omar, I think to conclude, because of time, yes.
Okay.
I think to conclude, hearing from him and other people, it's a non-starter. It is delusional to say that you must be an intellectual to contest for elections. So,
at least some
but more
plausible qualification. That's what you're talking about.
No, you don't need that.
But when
in
you
the
say
world.
when you say plausible qualification, we don't mean a master's or PhD and so, but at least with some qualification. Look, Jacobs mentioned Lincoln here.
You see, Omar, he mentioned Lincoln, and you go to
Zuma.
Jacob Zuma.
Jacob did not have a formal education.
But let me say this. Even in the developed world, you see, let us not get these petty things to distract us. The issue of qualifications, either in a constitution or degree holders also, it's non-starter. Let's talk about other issues. Let's be honest to ourselves. Let us see what we can do and how to contribute. If I'm an intellectual, you are not an intellectual, and what can I do in tandem with your opinion and your ideas to help shape this country into our desired destination? And to be honest, I want to say that for me, my opinion is that his statement wasn't fair.
Dr. Caesar's statement isn't fair.
Yes. Okay. And then also, it will be, you know, posterity shall judge that anybody want to say that let's include in the constitution for the qualifications of an elective position to be either PhD or master's degree or these things, it wouldn't be fair to other Gambians and others who could be best or better than people like Sidinje and others.
Mr. Tal, finally.
Finally, I think leadership is too important, and it's not only about talk. Because all of this thing was actually introduced by Yahya Jammeh. And as soon as he got to the position, he started acquiring all these foolish titles, doctor, professor, sheikh. And you know, every time, you know, Gambians were sitting here, I mean, he went to the National Assembly to say that we are going to be an Islamic Republic. All these kind of politics, hopefully, should be thing of the past. Politicians must have integrity. They must have the humility to ask the right questions and try to do the hard things. When President Kennedy was elected in the US, in one of his speeches, he said that we will go to the moon and we will do the other hard things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. But if you want to change any country, you must try to do the hard things. This talk is something that I just don't understand. Why we are so obsessed with these small things. Very, very petty, you know, very, you know, the journalists never put anybody to task. You come and you say whatever you like, and, you know, they just bring it out and publish it. But really, Omar, I'm very serious about this. Let us look at our headlines again. Because certain things don't belong on a front page of a national newspaper. The opinion of Almami Tal is important as long as it is dealing with the ideas of UDP or information about UDP. But my opinion, I can have a house full of it. So really, let us demand better of our leaders, and let us try to speak in measured and very respectful tones towards anybody who has been elected to an office.
Yeah.
It is up to everyone. If you want to be elected to an office, go to the people and tell them why they should elect you. And you know, this talk about intellectuals, please let us not kid ourselves. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, these people have changed the world. They have not graduated from university. So please, let us not get into that kind of thing. But it is only in Gambia that only these small things is what is occupying us. Nobody is talking about institutional reform. There are no champions for changing the way things are done. The Jammeh state is still with us. So we are talking about all these kind of things as if Jammeh is just sitting there waiting for us.
Omar, I think finally to say that we